Lights, camera, action.
Welcome back to a Pitch in the Car with Ty, brought to you by the Requel Podcast. Today's is kind of celebrating what I've started to dub Halloween in May. We have Christmas in July. Let's do Halloween in May, right? There was a film that came out by director David Slade called Dark Harvest. And I remember seeing the previews and I wanted to see it, and then it popped up to rent digitally rather quickly. And that was part of their release strategy. And Brian and I, from Gravely Amusing and Brian and the Guys, you know Brian guys, um, we were going to try and watch it sometime, but we never got to. And then it just kind of stayed in the back of my mind, and then it popped up on Amazon Prime. And the other day, there was a cool breeze out, and I just really was in a good fall mood. I was home by myself, which very rarely ever happens. So I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie, because, the kids are too young for horror. They don't really like it. Jania is very iffy about stuff. It just depends, her mood and everything. So, usually any horror films I view is with Brian. And I started watching it, and I love the idea of a group of boys. The idea of this pumpkin-based Halloween rising from the pumpkin patch monster coming to this town, small Midwestern town. But the idea is the monster is being hunted instead of the monster doing the hunting. I thought was really unique, and I liked that. And first of all, when I started it, the aesthetics I loved. It's supposed to be like 1963, 1964, but it has that late 50s vibe. And if anyone knows, I love the imagery of the 50s. Um, my grandparents were a big influence on me growing up, and they were teenagers in the 50s. I love 50s music, like Buddy Holly and stuff. Um, so the vibe and the aesthetic is really great, and I dig that completely, because sometimes the best thing with like monster films and horror and all this is to take a step back, because to a time without as much technology that we currently possess. So that always makes it nice. Now, I will say this will be spoilery if you've not seen Dark Harvest. Please go check it out right now on Amazon Prime, because the nature of what I'm going to get into in my pitch really plays off needing to see the first film, and I will explore that. So that is your warning. If you like movies set at fall and Halloween with a creep feel and a little bit of mystery, check out Dark Harvest. So here we go, spoilers. The film is based off a book with the same name, and I am right now in the midst of the book, and my mind is racing as I'm consuming the book. Because as of where I'm at, and I'm thinking, the book is structured so different from the film, in that it's very similar because of the event of the run and that concept, but certain details are tweaked. So as I'm going through the book, you could use the book to be the sequel. There'd be a little tweaking because they did change some things for the film as far as characters and character relations and such. But you could, because of where the movie ends with Richie and his father, you could take the book and pick up with Sawtooth Jack, now the as Richie, and being and do the book. Okay, things that I'd like to explore in a sequel. I think it would be awesome if you opened the film about a little earlier in the day, and that something that we didn't get to explore is the town, and getting to feel that the town is something loving and something nice, and feeling like we know this town, we're a part of it, or we've been this town, we've dreamed of this town, this idolized Midwestern town. I'm a very big fan, as most listeners know, of the TV show Supernatural, and I have always been very big on mythology, folklore, and just the lore in general. So I would like to explore a little bit more of the pumpkin patch in the cornfield. The pumpkin patch is kind of not shown in the film. So let's get into a little bit more of that, and also where the ritual of the October Boy, because that's what it's called in the book, or it's Sawtooth Jack or the October Boy, and the book likes to use the October Boy more than Sawtooth Jack. What is it exactly? Where did it come from? A simple pitch as settlers years ago made a pact with a demon, and they had to sacrifice every year a body for the demon to inhabit. And I would do something as much as the people trick the demon, okay, and they built their church on top of like where the demon's, I don't know, resting place, or even not a demon, maybe just like a spirit or something. Like the idea that the townspeople are the evil ones. Maybe it was originally some sort of spirit farming, of agriculture, and they trapped it in a sense and are using it for their own good. And that's why they have to kill the October Boy before it reaches the church, because they built their church on top of where the temple or whatever was for the spirit, and the spirit can really return or becomes more powerful, something like that. A workshop, and I would definitely the idea that over time, instead of just sacrificing a child, they created the run, and the demon monster, it has to be a male, uh, young, and full of life, that can possess. There's this consciousness of the monster, but also maybe that the boy it possesses retains some sort of knowledge of who they are when it's brought back to life. And go back to, let's use it, Halloween cultural traditions of ancestral worship and the idea of gifts and praises, and that's where the candy comes in. That's why the October Boy is stuffed with candy, and there's candy laid in its feet. And let's see a little bit of like the town's harvest, and like I said, if you open up showing the town, and then you start to slowly take these people that were introduced in, that are these simple, loving people, almost like the vibe that I got, but I wish had been explored more in the movie The Purge, the first one, I think was a little bit there. But like, friendly neighbors and all these good people. But then once the run starts, because the adults know the secret, and I wouldn't make every adult know, like it's one of those things that some adults, those are part of the farming, the harvest guild, they know, they protect the secret. And they created the run as a way of tricking the community and everything, so they can have what they want and flourish. But I just think the imagery of having this great town, and then you see kids running around trick-or-treating, but like trick-or-treating stops at like 8 o'clock. And you see everybody go inside, and that's when they release the teenage boys for the run. And you see people guarding up their house. And that's when things start to turn sinister. And we start to see the corruption of the town. And with the way the climax of the father falls apart,
take exit 36 onto US 127 toward Mount Healthy.
At the end of the film, and the idea that the father is now helping his son Richie, who is the new October Boy, I think makes for a strong sequel, a strong story. Main character that has to return is the actor, I can't remember his name, he's seen several things, who played the father. Because in the book, spoilers as we get to the end, the October Boy makes it to the church. And this being the end where the town really is burned to the ground. And it's the win for the October Boy. So it's a very much, a two-parter. You get to see the run, and we get to see history, a little bit more of like where the town came from, and we can even do like a story. I always want to think that effective ways of telling a story like this would be fun. You can even show elementary kids being told a sanitized version of the October Boy, so they're all kind of scared at their school's Halloween party. And you just see that it's baked into this town's culture a lot more before we get to, the first, the
Take exit 36
Sawtooth
onto
Jack
US
October Boy,
127 toward Mount Healthy, then
which is
continue
now
onto Houston Road.
Richie coming. And there's the idea that there's this consciousness that we saw in the film that the October Boy has some sort
Use
of
the second
knowledge.
lane left to continue onto Houston Road.
But I like the idea that there would be this almost dual personality inside it. The demon monster that is seeking revenge and the actual person who's possessing. The first film does play out the mystery of who Sawtooth Jack is and what, and I hate to say it, not to sound pretentious, but I figured it out, that, whoever won was now the new October Boy, because, I don't know, I just felt it as a writer and everything. So I really think that you kind of lose a little bit of mystery, but you show the town's sinisterness. And I look at, going back, the movie Ouija wasn't that great. Now Ouija 2, directed by Mike Flanagan, was actually a really good movie. It took, it sequelized the first film, but made it even better. And something like that, where this movie builds off the first one, doesn't try to redo the first movie, but it makes it a companion piece, where watching them back to back, you feel like you get this complete story. Something that always has made me angry is when you take a source material and you change it enough that it's vaguely like the source material, but not, it really omits, and changes things up for the point. I feel like with this case, by making the sequel more like the book, you can really tighten it up and make it feel like you're getting an adaptation of the book with this extra material. One of the worst examples, and I hate this, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Love the book. I read it all in one night. Poor Jania was really dealing with some stuff and was sick, and I was up with her, and I stayed up all night over her reading the book. And then as I'm, this is shortly before the film was released, as I'm reading the book, I'm looking at the cast in the film, like, who are these people? And I'm looking like, okay, the book's written by Seth Grahame-Smith, the film is written by Seth Grahame-Smith, and then I go and see the movie, and it's a completely different version of what the book was. The book was written in such a way that you could really believe this, and the film was more fantastical, and had a lot of weird rules and things that they put that just did not make sense. And it very much angered me, because I'm like, how are you the same person who wrote the book, who was writing the screenplay, and you completely change your story and make something else? And that is just something that bothers me. Don't adapt the source material if you have your own idea and want it to be something that it's not. And Dark Harvest didn't do that. But with the way that the book goes, you can see how my idea works. So I'm going to put a pin in that at the moment. Let's continue. The idea of this pumpkin-based Halloween rising from the pumpkin patch monster coming to this town, small Midwestern town, but the idea is the monster is being hunted instead of the monster doing the hunting, I thought was really unique. I like that.
So to complete my pitch, I have completed the book, and I was sitting thinking about how the book ended and how I would start, the second film. And I still say that there's so much in the book, because in the book, the twist about Jim being Sawtooth Jack is revealed early. So it's not really even a twist. So I really feel that we go into a second film, we are looking at knowing that Richie is Sawtooth Jack, and we can actually utilize a lot of the points that are presented in the book. And there is talk about when Sawtooth gets to the church and looking at the cross and what that's supposed to mean. And I think there's parallels that we can draw about Richie being this boy that sacrificed himself, who was kind of hung on a cross, and then the idea of the cross in the church and this imagery that we pulled together. So I think that the film would really benefit from this. And that's something that we're going to explore. Now, I was thinking about how I would start the film, and I'll go back, and I pitched this to Judea this morning, and basically you open the film up with almost this kind of story, like I was talking about, of the history of Sawtooth Jack and what happens. But the story that's being told is not the images you're seeing, and what you're seeing is like a montage throughout history of boys dying and then being buried, just like in a quick cutting, almost like a Guy Ritchie type, where you just see boom, cut, buried, boom, like shot, dead, buried, over and over. And we're seeing that there's this lengthy history for what the town has done. And so we have that, and then what we do is when the story concludes, it's at an elementary school, and we see how they're seeding the lie of Sawtooth Jack from a very early age to young children. And then, like I said, we see the town trick-or-treating the kids, and then it pans to where all the kids are locked up, because if you look at the first film, we already have the scene of the police sheriff, preaching to the high schoolers about the importance of the run and locking them up. I would also say that basically the McCormick story that's in the book can be tweaked to still be utilized as a main through line, and McCormick being the main kid. Because even though in the film they kind of mix McCormick and Richie to make the movie, I still think there's enough of McCormick's own individual storyline that could be used. We'd probably tweak and change the girlfriend, maybe make that a sister character or something, because their sister character is prevalent as being the character trying to escape. We would have a new sheriff, and I think there would be an amazing scene of the children of when we're going through the town. We see like the old movie theater playing like a creature double feature, and one of them being Frankenstein, and having very similar Frankensteinian themes utilized, with the idea of this, that in Frankenstein it's often argued who is the monster, the creature or the doctor, and in this case, who is the monster, Sawtooth Jack, the creature, or the town, which is like the doctor. Now, I would lean in a little bit more to the pumpkin patch, the pumpkin imagery that's in the book of the October Boy. I would actually have that quoted somewhere in the movie, calling him the October Boy, not just Sawtooth Jack. I think that was something that was missed, and I think that's something that we need to bring back. We're going to need a new sheriff character, and potentially that could be really great if we use maybe like the sheriff's brother, or just a new sheriff character who we didn't see or something. Like we need that new character. One of the best themes that we can have in this pitch is with Don being a father, guilt-ridden, who's spent a year planning his revenge, and father's guilt for what he did to his family, and having him assisting his son getting his revenge. So while Sawtooth Jack is running through the town trying to get to the church, the dad is like surprising the guild members who are sitting safely at home and blowing them away with a shotgun or something. All in all, the ending, I think the one thing we need to do is, there's a line in the book where the sheriff says he can't kill Sawtooth Jack, and then it's all over. The deal is, not upheld. There's another line about if he's in the church, a town's life goes to way, it all goes to hell. They lose everything. What does that mean? What deal? What is the thing that happens? Because in the book, the town is burning because of the fire that Sawtooth Jack set. And the town can't put out all the fire because they don't have enough firemen. So I want to see, going back to more about the lore and about how it's set up, what exactly happens to this town. I like to see a visual representation of just the crops dying, the soil turning like black or death, or a visual representation of just everything in the town being destroyed, the town burning to the ground. And then kind of that idea of like the sunrise on November 1st and everything's just ash. But that's my pitch for Dark Harvest 2. Any thoughts, let me know. And if you get a chance, send me an email.